Karma Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, Chapter 8, The Ideal of Karma Yoga, continued. Absolute equality, which means a perfect balance of all the struggling forces in all the planes, can never be in this world. Before you attain the state, the world will have become quite unfit for any kind of life, and no one will be there. We find therefore, that all these ideas of the millennium and of absolute equality are not only impossible, but also that if we try to carry them out, they will lead us surely enough to the day of destruction. What makes the difference between man and man? It is largely the difference in the brain. Nowadays, no one but a lunatic will say that we are all born with the same brain power. We come into the world with unequal endowments. We come as greater men or as lesser men, and there is no getting away from that prenatally determined condition. The American Indians were in the country for thousands of years, and a few handfuls of our ancestors came to the land. What difference they have caused in the appearance of the country? Why did not the Indians make improvements and build cities if we all were equal? With your ancestors, a different sort of brain power came into the land, different bundles of past impressions came and they worked out and manifested themselves. Absolute non-differentiation is death. So long as this world lasts, differentiation there will and must be, and the millennium of perfect equality will come only when a cycle of creation comes to its ends. Before that, equality cannot be. Yet this idea of realizing the millennium is a great motive power. Just as inequality is necessary for creation itself, so the struggle to limit it is also necessary. If there were no struggle to become free and yet back to God, there would be no creation either. It is the difference between these two forces that determine the nature of the motives of man. There will always be these motives to work, some tending towards bondage and other towards freedom. This world's wheels within wheel is a terrible mechanism. If we put our hands in it, as soon as we are caught, we are gone. We all think that when we have done a certain duty, we shall be at rest, but before we have done a part of the duty, another is already in waiting. We are all being dragged along by this mighty, complex world machine. There are only two ways out of it. One is to give up all concerns with the machine, to let it go and stand aside, to give up our desires. That is very easy to say, but is almost impossible to do so. I do not know whether in 20 millions of men one can do that. The other way is to plunge into the world and learn the secret of work, and that is the way of Karma Yoga. Do not fly away from the wheels of the world machine, but stand inside it and learn the secret of work. Through proper work done inside is also possible to come out. Through this machinery itself is the way out. We have now seen that what work is. It is a part of nature's foundation and goes on always. Those that believe in God understand this better because they know that God is not such an incapable being as will need our help. Although this universe will go on always, our goal is freedom. Our goal is unselfishness, and according to Karma Yoga, that goal is to be reached through work. All ideas of making the world perfectly happy may be good as motive powers for fanatics, but we must know that fanaticism brings forth as much evil as good. The Karma Yoga asks why you require any motive to work other than the inborn love of freedom. Be beyond the common worldly motives. To work you have the right, but not to the fruits thereof. Man can train himself to know and to practice that, says the Karma Yoga. When the idea of doing good becomes a part of his very being, and then he will not seek for any motive outside. Let us do good because it is good to do good. He who does good work even in order to get to heaven binds himself down, says the Karma Yogi. Any work that is done with any the least most selfish motive, instead of making us free, forges one more chain for our feet. So the only way is to give up all the fruits of work, to be unattached to them, know that this world is not we, nor are we this world, that we are really not the body, that we really do not work, we are the self, eternally at rest and at peace. Why should we be bound by anything? It is very good to say that we should be perfectly non-attached, but what is the way to do it? Every good work we do without any ulterior motive instead of forging a new chain will break one of the links in the existing chains. Every good thought that we send to the world without thinking of any return will be stored up there and break one link in the chain and make us purer and purer until we become the purest of mortals. Yet all this may seem to be rather quixotic and too philosophical, more theoretical than practical. I have read many arguments against the Bhagavad Gita, and many have said that without motives you cannot work. They have never seen unselfish work except under the influence of fanaticism, and therefore they speak in that way.